So then the next thing we want to talk about is immigration. I have a picture here that just sent me before we started. No, not the Stop Asian Hate. Not this guy. Looks like a adult version of like Jimmy Neutron, but evil. But
who's that?
Matt Gaetz.
Oh.
This picture. So tell me a little about it. Actually, yeah, you have the floor.
All right, so it seems like one of the first things that Joe Biden did talk about is that immigration reform-ish, right? That'll happen immediately, right? But obviously it's March, and that hasn't happened yet. And then one of the things that's happened is the border crisis, which has been a consistent crisis for decades now.
Yeah, every year.
It's starting to move up again, right? Caravans are coming in again, whatnot. And then, so what ended up happening is they went to this congressman, Henry, how do you pronounce that?
Henry Cuellar?
Cuellar, maybe?
Yeah.
Of Texas, who's a Democrat, took this photo, and I don't remember if he tweeted it or what, but it started making the rounds, right?
Mm-hmm.
And people were talking about it looks worse than Trump, which I don't think so. It looks the same as it did with Trump, but which is still a problem, right? We need to move on from that. We need to change it from Trump, because somebody tried to tell me, it was like, well, you didn't see kids and people under bridges during Trump. I was like, yeah, you did. Look, Joe Biden being, for lack of a better term, incompetent when it comes to immigration right now doesn't excuse Donald Trump from being incompetent from immigration, right? Like, this isn't one of those, well, this would have been better. I was like, no. My thing isn't to be as good or as bad as Trump. It's to be way better than Trump, right?
Yeah.
That's
to be fair, few American presidents. I actually can't think of an American president that's been better on this, that's been good on this. I'm not even saying better.
Because Ronald Reagan was a band-aid. He just did, all right, we're doing amnesty.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But that didn't solve the immigration crisis, which, by the way, is also, if we're going to talk about the immigration crisis, we need to talk about, maybe we need to stop destabilizing these countries and help stabilize them, right? And allow them to get their own sovereignty and all that stuff. And that will make it where immigrants don't come up here, right? But that's a different issue. That's a global issue that we have to discuss. This is an issue that brought immigration back to the forefront. So two things ended up happening, right? One, immediately after this photograph happened, Biden sent a bunch of money. I believe it was $300 and something million that were sent to help out with this crisis. I know $86 million is used on hotel rooms for migrants, instead of them being in these these horrible conditions. They ended up putting them in hotels instead, which I'm fine with my tax money being done for that, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, these people, just because they're here, quote, illegally, does not mean that they don't have a right to not be,
that they're not humans.
Yeah, exactly. This is a new humane condition. And we get that the crisis at the border is a crisis and it needs to be taken care of, right? Which maybe, I think this is a good thing that this photo came out. Because one, it led to more money being sent to them, right? Because it always feels like immigration is a big talking point during elections. Have you noticed this? It's a big talking point during elections, but once that person becomes president, it kind of goes. It's not the first priority.
Right? Yeah. But I mean, the reason why I'm a little hesitant to say that's the case here too is because the biggest priority globally was COVID.
No, I get that.
Yeah. And then as far as Biden's agenda, let's see. So yeah, COVID, but I don't know, what was Biden really for? I guess immigration is a big thing. Infrastructure was always Biden's big thing. And immigration came up because that's the Republican talking point. The Democrats will let all the immigrants in. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's something like he made it front and center of his campaign and then he just ignored it.
No, he did, but it never is. Yeah. It never is the front and center of anybody's campaign. Reason being is because immigration becomes a great talking point. It becomes a great either you get the vote from the people on the right side who are like, these guys are a problem and we need to take care of them, and I'll take care of them. Donald Trump didn't take care of the immigration crisis, right? He didn't build his wall like he said he was going to. You know, I think he built like what, 12 miles out of 200 something miles? Or is the border
It's like
more miles?
1,000.
Is it 1,000 miles? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah, because 200
four
miles alone
states,
is
right?
probably like 3 states and 3 cities in Texas.
Yeah, it crosses 4 states, I believe.
Yeah, so it's just like he wasn't gonna fix it. It becomes a talking point, but he used it to for fear mongering. Whereas Biden, you probably use this to, you know, to bring in the sympathy vote. Like,
Yeah.
oh, these people are dealing with a crisis. We got to take care. We got to take care of. So this photo was taken basically to prove a point that, look, nothing's being done right now, and it did put pressure on. It did put a fire under Biden's ass, which every president deserves to have a fire under their ass. Yeah, I get it. It's a horrible. It's a daunting task to be president, right? But you campaigned for it and you signed up for it, so that's what you got to deal with, right? You got to deal with that stress. So the good thing that happened out of this was this happened. This photo was released a few days later. $300+ million was being sent to deal with this immigration crisis. And then, you know, a little bit more about this. He appointed somebody finally to spearhead this.
Yeah. To be the immigration czar. Before I talk about that, for the guys on the podcast, I just want to read what the caption says. It's a photo from the Associated Press. It says, this March 20th, 2021 photo provided by the Office of Congressman Henry Cuellar, Texas 28, shows the detainees in Customs and Border Protection temporary overflow facility in Donna, Texas. President Joe Biden's administration faces mounting criticism for refusing to allow outside observers into the facilities where it is detaining thousands of immigrant children. Yeah, so that was the caption for the photo. Biden has appointed Kamala Harris, his vice president, to basically lead the effort on the immigration crisis. So that includes whether it's sending them back to where they came from or putting them in asylum conditions, whatever the solution may be. Harris is the one that's going to be leading that. I know Joe Biden has talked about trying to help conditions back in the countries where they came from so that they don't feel like they have to leave where they're coming from to go to America, because they're crossing through grueling conditions to get here. They wouldn't put their children through that unless it must be so much worse where they're coming from, right? So, so I guess those are the things that Harris has on her plate, which is, I mean, the way I look at it, it's like, even though I think she's way more qualified, it's like Trump appointing Jared Kushner to bring about Middle East peace, right? Like these are.
They're saying they should bring somebody. He should try to, or hopefully she'll do something like, what's it called? Bring somebody in who's better.
No, it's not even about whether she's qualified. It's about what is the definition of success, right? Because you're not going to stop people from immigrating to America. That's just never going to happen. So what's the definition of success? Are you going to put people up in rooms? Are you going to deport everyone? What can they look at 2 years from now and say, we have done our job? Because if it was something that was easy to accomplish, Trump, Obama, Clinton, Bush, any one of them would have accomplished it, right? So what are the milestones that they're going to try to reach? So we'll see.
Well, I'm hopeful what ends up happening is just immigration reform gets put back into the forefront a little bit more. There's currently 2 bills out there. They're both pretty racist in and of themselves. I forget the names, and I apologize for that. I was listening to another podcast who was actually talking about it, where basically it's, the first one is kind of one of those things where like it's for farmers, for like people in agriculture, for them to get a path to citizenship. Okay. But it's one of those things where like seriously, like the amount of ways that it could be corrupted is horrible. Like, so you have to be, if you're already been here for 10 years working in agriculture, in 5 years you can get a green card, right? But it's easy for farmers to fire you at 4 years, right? And then you don't get it. You know what I mean? If you've been here for 9 years, you hadn't hit that 10-year threshold, you have to, I think, work an additional 7-8 years, right? So it's just one of those things where, like, it's always one of those. There always seems to be some corruption into these kind of bills, right? And that's the first one. And unfortunately, I don't recall the second one. I forget what it was more about. Another agriculture one was this one, and there was another one that was more kind of helped dreamers a little bit more. I think, if I'm not mistaken. So
yeah,
but
that
even
that one was like from maybe like the second week, or no, like the third week of the administration, where they wanted to push a bill that would grant dreamers, everyone that's in DACA, a path to citizenship within 8 years. So, like, if you were here before January 1st of this year, you get to stay here, and you get to
the American Dream and Promise Act.
Okay, yeah. So you get to stay here, and you get to try to be a citizen within 8 years, which is not bad, because I got here in 2003 and I became a citizen in 2014. So 11 years. So yeah, 8 years is decent.
Yeah, honestly, I think one of the things that they should include, which I don't know, which I know why they don't do it. They just don't want to give people, get out green cards like that, I guess, for some reasons, right? Because they can get more money out of, because immigration is also a big money thing. Like, you get a lot of money from immigration, immigrant lawyers get a lot of money, but I don't think that's their main motif. But one of them, I think, is that I was wondering about is why not, if somebody's been here for 10 years and they're 13 years old, should they really have to wait? Because they're American. They just weren't born here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's a person who's been here since they were 5, who doesn't speak Spanish, who speaks English exclusively, has been here since they were 5, and they're like 15 right now.
Yeah.
Do they really need to wait an additional 5 years? Like, yeah. I just don't see the reason for that. I just go ahead and let's do what's right for a lot of these people. Yeah, the Dream Act was honestly, the Dream Act is one of Obama's best accomplishments, I think. But as everything, every single law, right? We can do more.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, just to put a bow on this, what would you see as, because you said you want immigration reform to be at the forefront, what sort of thing would you want reformed? Would it be
that first and foremost? Look, if you want to stop we need to move away from. We need to start using technology at the border the right way.
Okay.
If the border is covered by drones, not shooting drones, not the
cameras,
cameras. That will help with all right, now we can stop them at the border. It's no longer of like, once you're in this, because once you're in this country, it becomes an issue of something. I think it becomes a different issue versus you being stopped before you enter the country. Once you're in this country, all of a sudden, now is it asylum that you're seeking, not actual, you know what I mean? Like, you're not trying to become here because of, you're just trying to immigrate here.
Danger back home.
That's danger back home, right? So then that's a different question. So one, the thing is, at the border itself, there needs to be a proper way of us doing the border patrolling part, right? I honestly dismantle ICE. It's just corrupted, and let's revamp it, right? It could still be the same department. It's just revamp it from being ICE, because ICE is just one of those things that's just hard, just the way that they do things now. And I would think that one of the bigger accomplishments for me would be if, and this isn't at the border, this is just immigration overall, is go about the way it was for a while, where it doesn't make sense for me that a lady calls out her husband who's abusing her, right? Goes to court and maybe gets a restraining order against him and wins that. But then they walk out of that court and all of a sudden ICE is there ready for them to deport them, right? Whereas they before, it was under Obama, there was a big target of criminals, of people who are a danger.
Yeah.
Getting them. Then that also becomes a problem of deportation, where you deport them, and then, kind of like I told you about how MS-13 got big, where you got them here, you deported them over there, and then all of a sudden they grow within the prison infrastructure, and then when they get over there, then it becomes a huge problem. Now you're the world's most dangerous gang in the world, right? It's we need to figure out what's the proper answer, because even I won't be able to give you a suggestion of what the proper answer is, but obviously what we have going on now is not the right answer, right? It's not working.
Mm-hmm.
It's just more along the lines of, look, we're going to be able, we need to do this. We need to put in more money into helping these countries get stabilized. We need to put more money into the people who are already here, figuring out where these people can go. You know, and then also, I guarantee you, they probably should have a relationship with Canada, because, you know, Canada for the longest time was granting illegal immigrants citizenship.
Mm-hmm.
Because you got to think about Canada, their working force was dying because our working force was getting too old. Because a lot of Canadians were moving out of Canada. We're coming to the States, coming to different countries, right? So figure out if, hey, maybe Canada's an answer where we could send people to Canada who need to work in these particular areas, right? Like, find out, are these people, what are you here for? Look, you're okay, we're going to see if we can find you sponsors. You know what I mean? Like, just treat the people like human first and foremost.
Mm-hmm.
Figure out a way to do that. To also stop the influx of these individuals and figure out what's going on that we need to address. Because I guarantee you, they refuse to figure out why all these people are coming, because at the end of the day, it's probably the United States' fault as to why these people are coming. Destabilization is one of the biggest things destroying Latin America. America treats Latin America the way European countries treated Africa.
Yeah.
And you can tell me if they still treat them that way.
No, right now, I think the major force in Africa is China, not European countries. China has the tentacles all over African infrastructure, and any like big development that's done there, that money goes back to China in some form or fashion. Hell, if they help build Africa, I don't care if they're winning the war against the US, whatever. You've built up the continent, something that the US didn't want to do.